What's a... Hey, sorry.
No, you're good. I was making a stupid joke.
Oh, I didn't catch it. I think the audio cut out. I was like, what?
You said, what is the word? And I said bird.
Oh, bird. Bird is the word. Well done.
I was trying to be funny. One of the rare moments where I like to think I'm funny.
You're funny. You're funny. Looking.
Oh, goodness. So, tell me, sir, how are you doing?
Cool.
Cool?
Yeah, I'm doing cool. I met with folks from the United Way this morning, some friends of mine who have been overseeing, over the years of our collaborating. I count them as friends, or at least, work friends, folks I can joke around with and enjoy the company of. And we're talking about the next stages for the community health worker and the coordinated outreach piece. And so I'll be taking the reins on that moving forward, building curriculum for continuing education for community health workers, and sort of managing a steering committee with their help, right, with the United Way's help, of staying in touch with directors and people who are calling the shots on the training that their staff their staff is going to receive. Yeah, staff is a singular pronoun.
That's awesome.
Singular noun. Yeah. And right. And so that conversation went really well. We had a board of directors retreat this past Friday for Health Education Center, and it was, I think, very fruitful. The facilitator did something very artfully, I thought, which was, we've been, for the past 3 months, responding to the news, right? And the executive orders and the all the business that Trump is really good at generating and doing, and the confusion, the fear, etc. We've been responding to it. And there was an executive order made a little over a month ago, where, actually 2 months ago now, where language like equity, diversity, DEI, all that stuff, if you're putting it in your federal funding proposals, well, you can count on a review, right? And what's that mean, right? It means you're probably not going to get money. It means it's going to be a holdup of some kind. It's going to be additional bureaucratic business, whatever, right? But basically, they said these words, this is the naughty list, and if you use them, you're naughty, and you're going to be treated as such. And at the 11th hour, good lawyers did what they were supposed to do, and they struck it down. They fought it and struck it down as unconstitutional. Well, the executive orders, even being mentioned, did their job of seeing who would cow immediately, and just really sort of inciting fear. And so in the room and leading up to this event, there was a lot of fear about, gosh, are we going to be able to do what we do? How do we have to change what we're doing? Just a lot of running from the boogeyman. And the facilitator just said, hey, let's address the elephant in the room, right? These executive orders are out there. How are people feeling? And what are you thinking? And so she brought it up even before introductions. And so over the course of our introductions, we were able to keep that energy and awareness in mind into a conversation about our mission, right at the outset. And it wasn't a resolved conversation, but the story was this. I had one of our board members is from Hartford Healthcare. Great guy, brilliant, organized. I love working with him. And he's like, hey, looking around, my peers in the game and community outreach at larger healthcare organizations, there's a lot of changing the language. Like, we really don't want to, we don't want to rock the boat. The work is the same, but we're just changing our language. And, and I'm not saying one way or the other, but this is, I just want to let you know that what I'm seeing out there. And other reactions, for, against, I see your side, this, that, and the other thing. I said, can I just make folks aware of some of the other words right next to equity and diversity on this list? They are minority, BIPOC, and I'm cherry picking here, indigenous, gender diversity, right? These 4 words describe our leader, and I indicate Alyssa, who's our president. What's next? What's next? We take equity and diversity out, right? Because we want to play nice. And then all of a sudden we can't recognize the dimensions of identity that reflect our president? No fucking way. No fucking way. And our president, Alyssa, was even more eloquent in saying this, over the years of her involvement there, there's been a rebuilding of trust with the community.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? How does that look? If all of a sudden we're like, actually, these words that we said were really, really so important, well, they're going to go away from our mission. What is the message there? And then we went around again, and I doubled down. I said, our mission should read, our mission is to still, right, focus on diversity, equity, right, and throw in big capital fucking bold letters, still. And I did F-bomb twice in the retreat. No one said boo about it, right? But it's not the sort of thing I throw around lightly. And it was just, one of them was kind of an aspirated, right? But anyway, the point was made, right? Emphatically that we in the staff were not about changing the language of the mission. And, some board members wanted to come a little more soft on it. They're like, there's nothing we need to do for now, right? But if it's the difference of closing the organization or not, right, then we revisit the conversation. And I'm fine, right? But you're not gonna sway me on this one.
No, I completely agree with you. Like, I mean, yeah, that just sets us back centuries, decades, whatever. Fill in the blank. It's like, it's funny actually because we're in a season with the practice of like building up our website and trying to like really create who we are in the community now that we're like, not a baby practice. Like we're still a baby. We're more like a toddler now, right?
I love it.
One of the things that Laura and I went back and forth on was how do we want to not only advertise to clients, but advertise to clinicians. And we have a relatively diverse group. I think it's getting more diverse as we grow, but
sure.
Our first employee was a Black female.
Mm-hmm.
But then kind of everyone thereafter was unintentionally very white, but within
very white.
Very white, like very vanilla. Like I'm a little disappointed in it, to be honest with you. But like we have a white male, and like in our field, having a white male is actually like really sought after.
Sure.
Genderist or race aside, having a male is really sought after. And then we have. So like we're really diverse in age, right? Which is cool. We've got our oldest clinician is 63.
Yep.
And our youngest is 24.
Okay. Great.
And then kind of like everywhere in between. And so we hired a Black male who just did not work out, unfortunately, because he had a lot to offer. And then we just hired, you'll like this, a Spanish-speaking Puerto Rican female.
Man.
Who we're super excited about.
I mean, I like it for where you are. I wouldn't like it for Northern Maine. You know what I mean? Like where her Spanish would be wasted, right? Like she'd be better off with French.
Of course, yeah. But it's like
right. If you're serving a community, you want to be representative of the community, obviously.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we actually settled on within website was to advertise and to really highlight not everybody, but like the people on it, like the fact that our team is diverse. Not
Yeah.
in like a we're capitalizing on it, but in a way of like we understand our community.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Nice.
And it's funny because we started doing that right after Trump was elected.
Right.
And one of the things that we decided to put on there was DEI.
Yeah. Good.
And like, thank God for us because we're not federally funded or anything. Like we do accept Medicare, but like whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like.
Well, you say whatever, but those are also, yeah. Those are also kind of the worst. It's not about the clients, right? Those are also the worst paying engagements, right? Like having to go through. Is that true? It's kind of a pain in the ass. I have heard that. Obviously, second and third hand.
Yes and no. I personally, I don't really have an issue with Medicare. I think there's a lot more regulation and red tape, but like in regards to like documentation, but like our documentation is built to abide by Medicare and Medicaid standards.
You're already there.
So like for us, it's like it's kind of a non-issue. The only thing that gets really nutty with Medicare is that with most Medicare plans, there's also a secondary policy, and it's just figuring out which is which. That gets super messy. And then the other downside is if their secondary policy is husky, we can't charge for cancellations or no-shows. But like we don't really have that. Like that's not a huge issue for us.
Yeah.
We have like an 80-something% show rate.
Right. Deliver the value and people will show up, man. I mean,
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like when people sit there and like gripe about Medicaid and Medicare, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like if people aren't showing up, there's got to be some self-reflection there. Like yes, it's partially on the client, but also like,
yeah,
I don't know. I have a pretty high show rate, and if people don't show up, it's like there's a reason, you know.
You're removing barriers. If Medicaid is removing barriers, I'm all for it. I really am all for it, and I know it is still selective, especially the way it's being met out. But there are people who would not receive care otherwise, and we're not going to get healthy all at once. We're not. No. And so do I want the perfect solution of universal health care and like higher quality health care and providers paid on performance and prevention? Sure. We're not there, right?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be lovely. I would love that. But it's also one of those things where it's like too many providers in the state, and you're going to see this more and more in the lineup. I think you're going to face it in the work that you do for like referring and things like that, is more and more providers are leaving networks.
Yeah.
More and more providers across the state are aggressively quitting insurance panels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it frustrates the crap out of me because it's like, why? Like, I get it that it's annoying, but at the same time, it's like, you didn't go into this field for the money, I promise. And if you did, find a different job. Yeah.
But, well, yes and, right? It's like the conversation at the board. If they can't keep the lights on because they're attending to, the costs are overwhelming in dealing with insurance providers, then I guess that makes sense for them, right? But there are the few, like, Thrive, where, you're going to keep the doors open and you're going to keep that channel open.
Yeah.
For as long as it makes sense.
It's one of those things where it's like, yes, there are certain communities within the state where you can be entirely self-pay and you're not going to have a problem.
Right.
But like, as far as I'm concerned, like, yeah, there's issues with insurance. Like like my outstanding payments right now is almost 90 grand. But like, it's not a matter of if I'm going to get it.
Yeah, right.
Right. Insurance, like if you do things right, like you're going to get paid.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the thing that baffles me that these people like gripe about. And I think it goes back to that DEI stuff you're talking about. Is like, okay, if it's a difference between keeping the doors open and not, sure. But like, then there's integrity. Like if you're an agency that stands on this, whatever it is, right, fill in the blank, this is when those things matter. When the rubber meets the road is when you are supposed to stand on what you stand for.
Yeah.
And the reality is that, like, okay, so that may mean things need to look different, but like, isn't that what the macro advocacy work is all about? Doing it in spite of. We didn't have money during COVID.
Well,
we made it work.
Don't bring up us. Like we don't bring up us. We were heroes back then. Like and we were a lot of people were struggling to find their way forward, and our way forward was in service to others. So I just like, I think we were the right people at the right time to find solutions. I don't it's not fair to compare.
You're in that seat still.
Huh?
You're still there. You're in that seat. Maybe not at Access, literally, but like you're still in that seat.
I'm still in community, sure. Yeah.
And so like, and I mean, I am in a different way.
Right.
But like, you know, I actually really commend you for not being flexible on that idea of like, no, we're not going to change the language. You shouldn't.
We don't need to be everyone's health education center. We need to be the health education center for our community. So I don't know. I mean, it's just like when leopards try to change their spots, it doesn't work out. You end up looking like every other cat. Like,
yeah.
And we want to attract the right people. We want to attract partners who want to work with us, who will take these, who will stand on their integrity. It's not about taking risk. It's about standing on your integrity, just like you said. And you know, that's what we want. We want funders who are like that. We want partners who are like that. We want community members to see that courageousness, whatever, that clarity of vision, and be inspired by it. And if we're not inspiring ourselves, shit. So, and I think over the years since you left, Access had increasingly been this, we want to be everything to everybody. You know, and that's what leadership wanted to do. So.
But see, it's so funny because it's like you want to be everything to everybody, and then you turn out being nobody to anybody.
That's right.
Right, and it's like Access. It was one of those things of like they had the opportunity to be great for everybody, but not in the way that they were doing. Mm-hmm. Right, so if they had maintained with people who had that heart and that passion, and I'm not even talking about myself, but like in general, right? If they had continued to work towards the things, the people who were innovative, the entrepreneurial type people. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, us. Like
yeah. Yeah. But like, I'm not even like myself aside. Like, okay, it didn't work out because of me and Elise, but like, whatever. Right. Yeah. But there were people. So like Ashley.
Right.
Or like, Caro and all of the like.
Yeah, but those are bad examples because they were interns. Like they were always expected to move on. The Access is, and I mean, I gotta give Peter a little bit of credit. Like, he is comfortable leading a certain type of organization, and he made sure that it stayed that type of organization, right? I mean, he's retiring at the end of July or whatever, and there's going to be a parade amongst the staff. But that, you know, like he at least said, no, but that's, you were operating at a different, staff does not feel listened to by him. And that's
no, I know. Yeah. I know. I don't know why Peter liked me, but he did.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what the real shame of your departure, I think, is that it was Elise trying to, you know, like cling on to the cliff for her own career there because of how cushy she had made it for herself in doing nothing. And, you know, um,
The
you
things
were
that
just a
Kathleen
casualty in
and
that.
Kelly told me.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's
But
criminal. I hate it.
it's fine because you know what? Without that, we wouldn't be here.
No, totally. I'm just saying, in the moment, I was like, yeah, it really gutted me as I learned more about what that was and about how, and then eventually saw her be completely liquidated and good riddance. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know too much of the details about what happened after I left, but I do know that Kathleen and Kelly were out for blood after she fired me.
Oh yeah. No. She. That's it.
It's fine.
It's for the best, obviously. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I'm super stoked we're here today, and I wouldn't change anything. But what I didn't appreciate is how you were treated. That's all.
No, I hear you. And, you know, I think it's one of those things of like all of that continues to fuel the energy that like you and I have and things like that. And I think situations like the hardship teach us to be
Oh yeah.
very practical because like not for nothing, but that situation taught me so much about the leader I want to be.
Right.
And the leader I don't want to be.
Yeah.
And even the way that you were departed from access too, you know? Because that wasn't super kind and loving and healthy either.
Yep. Well.
And look at where you are now.
Where am I now? No, I definitely tripped up where I did, and I'm stoked to be with Heck. It's a really special place where I get to do great work and still stay at the table and a lot of the same conversations that I was having before, and in a different capacity, right? Like sort of carrying the banner for how CHWs are developed and advocate for themselves in this region. I take a lot of pride in that. So
you should, because
yeah.
you worked really hard to get here. I'm gonna turn my camera off really quick, but I'm still
sure. Here. That's okay. You can pick your nose on camera. I don't mind.
Nah, that's not what I'm doing.
I am very proud. It's I'm not proud, honored, I would say.
No, it's okay to be proud.
Yeah, but it's not like I mean, I guess I'm proud.
You should be proud.
No, I know. I am proud, right? But anyway, it's a healthy pride. It's not a hubris thing. Well, it's just that pride has can carry a negative connotation. I know that I'm in an audience who understands what pride is, right? And what pride can and the difference between feeling good about oneself and hubris, right? Like, I'm unstoppable. Like, this community will change on my back.
That's not you.
Right. Just saying.
But tell me, what?
Yeah.
So all of that leads into, I think, the conversation we've been having for a while of the boundaries between work and life, and also just like emotional wellness within the work, because the work is hard. The work takes a lot out of us emotionally, naturally. And so what's the balance there, right? Because like it's, as we saw back at Access, like it's so easy to get stuck and to get hurt in the work.
Yeah.
Right. And to get so, like you said, like we were so invested. We really did a lot. But like it also kind of cost us a lot.
Yeah.
In some ways. Maybe not things we weren't willing to give up, but it certainly was significant.
I've been thinking about this since the board retreat and I think a little bit before. The question about costs, right? Return on investment on the time horizon, right? Because that's the piece that always gets left off, right? The return on investment over what period of time? So again, just like you getting unceremoniously let go from Access, that time investment at the time. I mean, I know in talking to you how low you felt about that. I know,
devastated.
yeah, right. And yet, what that did for you, not only the adversity, but also the experience of working there, and how that paid off for you to the point of, I mean, look at you, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you. And like, but exactly, did the work have a cost? It did. Did it have a payoff? Yeah, it fucking did. So
I'm not blind to that. You know,
yeah.
The cost, I think that part of the cost was also that really impacted my marriage.
Yeah.
You know, in some ways it was fine, and in other ways it wasn't.
Right.
You know, that was, I can't tell you how many, I mean, you were there for a lot of it, how many nights I spent working extremely long hours.
Yeah.
You know, I would come in at like 6, 7 a.m. and I would work until I was done, because that's, I mean, not for nothing, that's also what I was told I was required to do.
Yeah.
But it was also what I was excited about. But like, yeah, that had a cost. Sure. And, you know, it's a cost, it's a boundary that I'm unlearning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because in this season of my life, actually, it's funny because one of my staff, who's also one of my very close friends, she made a comment to me like, I think it was last week we were talking, and I didn't do something one night, and we were talking on the phone, and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to do that. All right, I'll do it tomorrow or whatever. And she was like, you know, I'm so proud of you, because like you have not been working at night lately, and like I used to work till I fell asleep with my laptop in hand.
Yeah.
You know, and I did the same at Access, and it's one of those things where it's like the costs that we have to unlearn, and we have to relearn as healthy boundaries.
Right. Yeah, I think paying the same cost again and again, it can be unproductive. Right. And so being willing to ask, like, just because you paid the cost once, it doesn't mean that that's something you need to do every single time. And I think there's a tendency for us to say, well, I paid it before, so I must pay it again. And that's the belief that needs to be questioned, right? That's the cognitive dissonance, is that?
There's cognitive dissonance, but also cognitive distortion.
Distortion, that's the, yeah.
It's both. I think it's both in that situation, right? Because it is distorted, because it's that all or nothing.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a lot of people like us. I think I used to be there a lot more than I am now, thanks to my therapist. You know, she's really helped me check some of this. We're really not meant to save the world. You know, we're meant to make an impact in the environment and the generation that we are in.
Yeah.
I had so when I worked down in New London, we had a client rights rep, because it was a community mental health agency, and we were required by law to whatever. And
a client rights
officer. So
okay, yep.
So when you work in community mental health.
No, I just didn't hear what you said. that's all. I know what you're talking about. I didn't hear.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. CRO. Got
it. So there was this gentleman who was a narcissistic asshole, to be totally frank.
Is that a clinical diagnosis?
Actually, I think his diagnosis was narcissism, to be totally frank. The asshole part is added, but that's just because he was a dick to me. So he was one of my clients. Like he was real nice at the beginning, and then he kind of got comfy, and you know, his true colors came out, which that's pretty normal, right? And so I remember big dude, right? And that's only relevant for the context of the conversation. And so I was driving him home from something we were doing, I forget what. and he lived in a hotel, and he was like, "Oh, can we stop at Burger King?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." This dude ordered like 6 orders of chicken nuggets, and I was like, "Okay," and I was like, "That's cool, whatever. Like, you do you, guy." And then he was like, "And I want this many things of ketchup." And I forget, it was some like astronomical number. It was like 15 or 20 or something like that. It was crazy. And like he wanted like back when they had like those big ones that you could like open or squeeze, it was those, not like the little packets. And like it was super weird. And so they wouldn't give him that many because it was like no.
Yeah,
And
right.
he started going off at them, yelling at them through the drive-through window with like me in between.
Yeah, right. You're driving.
Right. And he's like yelling, he's like, "My brother's a cop, this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, dude, you gotta like stop. Right. And eventually I just like paid them and just like drove away because I wasn't gonna facilitate this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So then he starts in on me, and he apparently, I found out later, he started recording our conversation. And
Great.
Which was super weird. And he starts going off about how his brother would do stuff like that all the time, and his brother would always like show his badge, and like that's how we got what he wanted. And I was like, wow, like that actually kind of sounds like an abuse of power. Like that's really not appropriate.
Yep.
And mind you, I'm like 21 years old, 22 years old at this point, right? So not quite as diplomatic as I am today. And
well, that's quite a statement.
Yeah, that's assuming that I'm extremely diplomatic now, but I'm not.
I mean, you know how to be. At least it's a muscle you can flex when you need to.
Yeah. I'm not in front of people I'm comfortable with by any means, but like, you don't get to see that part of me. Because
I wouldn't want to.
Why would I? Exactly. And so whatever, he records me saying this, flies off the handle, whatever, and I get called into client rights the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently I was inappropriate and unethical. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, and this guy like blows up my phone later and tells me that he's going to report me and I'm going to lose my license. I'm not licensed at this point. Like, he's just going off. He's trying to be like big and macho, right?
Yeah.
And so I get called down to client rights, and I'm like, what? 22-year-old.
Yeah, right.
22-year-old. And the client rights officer, who I adore, looks at me and goes, "Kate, you can't save everybody, and you can't save the world." And I remember looking at her, and I was like, "Watch me." And I walked out and I left. And that was the driving force for so much of what I did.
Yeah.
Grad school, because shortly after I left that job, I started grad school.
Right.
Grad school, which led into United Way, which led into Access, which led to here.
Yep.
Right. Now.
Circuitous, but yeah.
Yeah, a little bit diversion, but it's fine. Eventually we got here.
With some northern exposure. Yep, okay.
It's fine. It's all good. Right. And so this fire in my belly existed. Yeah. I mean, I went to college out of spite of my dad.
Well, yeah.
I went to college because my dad was like, "You're not made for college." And I said, "Fuck you, yes I am."
Yeah.
I have a master's degree.
Right.
And 2 professional licenses. Come at me, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it was that bleeding heart, that fire in my belly that led me to where I am today. That's not sustainable. Mm-hmm. I still have the fire in my belly. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I've learned how to sustain it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think even at Access, I didn't know how to be sustainable with it. Because if I knew how, I wouldn't have finished that damn project in 5.5 months.
Right.
And I still would have had a job.
Yeah. Well.
Because she fired me because I did the work too fast, basically, is why she got away with it. No, literally, like I finished the project and she didn't need me anymore. That's what Kelly told me.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and that's fine. Whatever. But it was one of those things where in this season of my life, I've learned how to balance the passion and the desire to serve with sustainability.
Right.
Because yeah, it was a different time and it required a lot of us in the regard of like the world was on fire, right? But what we were doing was not sustainable.
No way. No way.
and like there's no secret about that, of course.
Yeah.
But I think it's also one of those things of like, what could it have looked like if we had somebody who was teaching us how to do what we were doing in a sustainable way?
Yep. Sure. And so what? You know what I mean? Like, that's not what happened, right?
No.
Like, you know, there are all kinds of what ifs, but that's not what happened. And
Right.
I'm not like you can judge it good, bad, indifferent, you know, cruel. Um, I think the only thing that matters in reflecting on it is how I want to be moving forward, how I want to feel moving forward.
Agreed.
And
so
yeah,
moving
sorry,
forward.
I know you.
No, go ahead.
I know you're. I feel like I'm poo-pooing a point before you even tried to make it, and so
Not at all.
right. It would have looked very different. It would have looked very, very different. And you know, and I can look and I can imagine that. Like it's a really fun thought experiment. But I'm not damaged or hurt. I'm not carrying around hurt about the fact that if you and I had literally, if folks had just gotten out of our way,
Yeah, that too.
had gotten out of our way, we would have, you know, like one thing, right? Bulk purchasing direct from wholesalers to have, you know, a better cost structure on the on the goods that I was providing. So everything, I mean, and really just staples, right? Milk, bread, eggs, produce, whatever we could get our hands on, and just that channel. And it would just be, they would come and drop it off, or I would go and pick it up. We would house it. I would take whatever is remaining to the 4 or 6 places that I was going to visit that day, and, you know, rinse and repeat. And it would have been more sustainable. We would have had, our money would have gone much further. We would have been able to provide a higher level of service. You know, I would have been able to get to folks more efficiently. You know, like I needed someone on the phones. I needed an intern. I needed an Ashley. And I didn't have.
I had a really great intern.
Oh yeah, you did.
I lucked out in that because they were not planning to take an intern until I saw the project in front of me and I was like, I need an intern. And Peter was like, bet. Peter was like, you do whatever you want, you intimidate. Like he literally basically told me that I intimidated. It was great. I think that's part of why I got whatever I wanted to be. Most of what I wanted, to be totally frank.
But not in an abuse of power kind of way. In a let the girl cook kind of way. Yeah.
Right. But like I actually am really glad that you said, how do I take that and move forward? Right? Because I had a degree of support that you didn't have. And I still didn't even have great support. Mm-hmm. But like I had like an ounce more than you in the regard of like you said, let the girl cook type thing. Yeah. Right. And I think it's being in the position that you're in and the position that I'm in, very different, but along like same type level, right? I think it's one of those things where it's like part of our job at this juncture is to teach the people that come after us.
Yeah, obviously.
Right.
Oh, that is the sustainability. Like, right. There'll come a point. Sorry.
No.
Please keep speaking. I'm just so like I do this when I'm on the same wavelength as you. I know. But I'm just like I'm reading all this, you know, improve your EQ stuff. And it's like one of the first tenets, don't talk over people. And I'm like, yeah, I do that all the time because I'm on the same wavelength as them and I'm hearing what they're saying. And this is my level of active listening.
You're also talking to an ADHDer, so.
And Batman, right? So
Can I just,
yeah,
can we play a little like pause game for a second here?
of course.
Because I feel like you will appreciate this. Okay. So why did we love the conference room so much for our lunches? Do you remember?
Why did we love it? Because we had the whiteboard.
There was one very specific reason. One thing.
The whiteboard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we could ideate right there. Like, oh, yeah.
Whiteboard number 1,
yeah.
Whiteboard number 2, whiteboard number 3, sticky pad.
Yep.
I just needed you to see that for a second.
I mean, I know. I mean, I've seen some of them from different orientations, and I'm like, oh, that's way too neat.
Now there's a third and a sticky pad. We've multiplied.
Yep.
Oh. It's great. I love it. But no, yes. Yes.
And there's another. Oh, it's on the fridge. So
I've got a little handheld one too.
Yeah.
Just the tablet.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's like I'm learning a lot about modeling behavior.
Yeah.
And I look back often on my time at Access, our time in COVID, and all the things that we worked on, but also like grad school, right? For me, I was working like 50, 60 hours a week as an intern, right?
Yeah.
And it was exhausting. And
yeah,
it was a lot.
Obviously.
Plus a full-time course load, right? And so it was but that was when I learned farmers to family. That was where I started that work.
Right.
That was where I learned asset mapping.
Yep.
Right? All of those things. And shoot.
Asset mapping?
I forgot to find the book for you. Gotta make a note. Thursday. So, I look back at a lot of that, and I look at where I am now. And I think about the fact that I am where I am because of the things that I needed to do back then. And I am where I am because of some of the things I needed to do back then.
Yeah.
And for better or for worse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things at this season of my life that I needed back then, that nobody taught me.
Right.
And that's a lot. It's boundaries. It's all the things that you and I talk a lot about.
Yeah.
And I think it circles back to that integrity, like kind of where this conversation started, of like, are we really gonna bend at this? Like, look, this is our leader, and like, so on and so forth. And it's like, I go back to like that client rights officer who told me, you can't change the world. And I said, watch me.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think about all the ways that was really, really powerful, in all the ways that it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ian, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do, but we were a template for the state.
I don't say more because I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, right.
The way that we did that, like the sign up and the registration.
Yep.
We were on, I don't know if you were ever added to the calls, but I was on statewide calls with like the governor and people like that who were like, tell me more about how you did this. And it was like, we were the template for the state. I don't know how many communities implemented that after it, but like they capitalized on that. I think Access got additional funding because of that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that.
It was like thrown out there.
Yeah.
Like we were a leader within that. And it was like,
you are giving me far too much credit on that count. I was a strong participant in that endeavor. I was not that was all you and Ashley. In my recollection, that was all you and Ashley.
Yes and no.
I mean, we'll agree to disagree, but I'll hear what you have to say.
So here's the thing. Yes. Okay. Maybe the start to finish of it was.
Yeah.
But the behind the scenes of it, the making. So the setup of the system was all you. Because I didn't. So okay, you're gonna be like, oh, that's like small potatoes, but it's not. And hear me out, right? So I use Google Drive in my everyday life now.
Yeah.
I always have. I was that generation where it was introduced when I was 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah,
middle
school.
We were forced to learn it type thing.
Yeah.
But not to the capacity that you taught me.
Okay.
Right. And so, for example, I don't know if you remember how we had that set up, but we had a Google form.
Yeah.
That was online, and it was accessible online, but it was also in everybody's inbox.
Yeah.
And the form went to, as forms do, they go to spreadsheets, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Something as simple as that created a system. I didn't know how to use Google Forms. I'd never used Google Forms in my life before you showed me that. Literally, never knew what Google Forms was. I knew what Google Sheets was. I knew all the other things, but the basics of it. But I never knew what Google Forms was. So used Google Forms, right? And that small little thing that you taught us it's what led into the system of which we created an inventory. Yeah. It was what created the shopping structure because we were able to track things. It turned into all of these different things that would not have been possible without you, because the idea was there.
Right.
But I needed someone to take the idea and turn it into reality. And that was where you came in.
All right. All right.
And furthermore, that knowledge, that tiny little tidbit of knowledge that you taught me, has led into the entirety of how I run my business.
What do you mean?
I mean, so I have a team of 8, including myself. About to hire my 9th. I'm interviewing her tomorrow. And that's a lot of fucking clients to keep track of.
Yeah.
To give you perspective.
Okay.
I have 148 active clients and 10 prospective in my practice right now.
Okay.
That's not even that's all clients. I wouldn't even begin to tell you what all of it was. It's over 300.
Right.
For past served, discharged, administrative pause, stuff like that. Right. So we're at 160, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we have to keep track of that stuff somehow. So we keep track of it through things like Google Forms. Yeah. And Google Sheets and all of those things that nobody else knows how to use.
Right. Oh, really?
And the only only reason they know how to use it is because I've been able to sit here and be like, look at all the things. Look at what we can do. I manage my entire financial component of my business through Google Sheets. Because you taught me. And so your impact is so much more significant than you realize. And that is very easy to take advantage of if somebody wants to, as you saw with what they did with me and what they did with you back then. And that's where we come full circle on boundaries. And building into the next generation. Because you have learned just in these few short months of us working together therapeutically, but also just as you kind of seasons of life have come and gone. Yeah. That was fucking 5 years ago, dude.
It's wild. It's wild. Yeah, COVID. I brought that up. I brought that up in the conversation about our mission. I said, where were you 5 years? Where were all of you 5 years to the day from today? Right? We had just finished the 2 weeks of lockdown. We have been through shittier shit than this, and here we are. So don't talk to me about blowing in the wind because someone's yelling. Yeah, no, exactly. 5 years ago, Jesus. Whew. It's been wild. What is that?
It's been a wild ride.
Did you see your bubble?
No, I didn't.
You had some like emoji bubble come out. It was like a thought thing and a thumbs down. I don't know.
Oh, a thumbs down. It's because my thumb is like this.
I guess so. Okay. I don't know.
I do.
There it is.
I don't see it on my end because I have it turned off.
Oh, that's wild. Well, I'm seeing it, so just so you know.
Yeah, there's a bunch. You can do like balloons and hearts, and it's weird. I tend to turn it off because it's distracting, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, you should know that I'm seeing it.
Yeah, good to know. I will investigate that further. It's really distracting when you're doing like EMDR with somebody, and for people that like, before I had the app that I use now, I would have to do hand movements.
Right. Oh,
and
yeah.
It would literally trigger it all the time, and it was like, oh my God, this is horrible. Because imagine doing EMDR and then having reactions go off behind you.
Yeah, that'd be a problem.
It was so bad, which is why I got the app. But anyway, I digress. So the reason I circle back to boundaries so much is because you are in a place where you are trying to get something off the ground. Your business, the orb stuff, all of that. And this is, dare I say, somewhat of a repeat of 5 years ago, minus the pandemic.
Well, we've still got Trump, the pandemic of Trump. So yeah. Exactly.
And I mean, it would be definitely a pandemic, not an epidemic, because he definitely has global impact. But anyway, and so we're, if we're not careful, like history repeats itself, and you are in a place where you are so much further along. You are such a healed person. You're healing in addition to the fact that you are healed in a lot of ways. You are no longer running away from your environment, right? So back then, it was easy to stay at work. It was easy to justify, right?
Yeah,
because
easier.
Of what you could have gone home to, right?
Right.
But now that's different. And if you're not careful, you have the potential to repeat the wrong parts as well as the right parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, you're definitely not wrong, and that's my total view on the work and recognizing that being in it for the long haul. The long haul is the only haul, right? Like consistency is the only ability, right? Everything else is just a fluke.
But what if it wasn't consistency? What if it was persistency?
Yeah, sure. Same thing. I mean, the way I'm talking about it. Yeah. Consistency in effort, right? Not the work being consistent, right? Like it's the same thing every day, but consistency in terms of my commitment to it. Persisting in the effort. I mean it as you mean it, I believe.
Okay, I see you. So, how is all of this settling with you? And just like the weight of it all, because like the work you are going to find yourself in good company in a lot of the things that you are advocating for, and you're also going to find a lot of pushback of like, well, the money.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'd feel really challenged by that if I were doing it for the money. If we're about the money.
But I think that's it. It's not about the money for you. It's about the money for everybody else. And like the hierarchical money is what I'm talking about. The funding.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah. I mean, it is, but that's why Health Education Center is moving to a fee-for-service model. That's why I'm working to develop something that offers financial sovereignty. You just when our operations are hung on the hook of grants and political will, there's no integrity in that. We're essentially saying we only want to be an organization for as long as there's will to support it, and who ends up getting left in the lurch but our communities. So,
right.
It is there's this incredible PDF analysis white paper on nonprofits. It's from the 1970s about the utterly unsustainable model of nonprofits, funding model of nonprofits, and I mean that's all I can say. I mean it's just absolutely. It is the kind of structure that would exist. It's very much a fantasy, the way that they're organized, right? In a perfect world, we wouldn't need to exist, right?
Yeah.
But in something less than a perfect world, right, where there are economic disparities, and they are caused by dimensions of identity and people's fear and ignorance, that's the world in which we live. And with the existence of that, making sure that your lifeblood is being pumped from systems as mercurial as the federal government is a mistake, right? It's, what is the economic issue du jour? And that's what this president or this legislature or that is going to vote for and create and incentivize through grants and funding, etc. And so, what organizations like Access and Health Education Center historically have done is chase the money, but there's no integrity in that.
No.
You can look up Health Education Center now on Google, and it will say literacy organization.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's not that that's not accurate. It's just that it's not complete. It's really, yeah. It's just like I brought this up, and we're a staff of 4. we're a staff of 4. And there's just not, we've all got our fires that we're trying to put out and address and keep the work going.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel like I'm up to speed with the rest of the group in terms of the work. Having only been in it 6-7 months now. True, I brought a lot to bear coming in, but what this work is as opposed to what I was doing, just very different things.
Very different.
Yeah, but I wouldn't do almost anything the same as I would, and so I'm not. I don't feel like I have a Batman in my corner, but I've got a.
You do, just in a different way.
No, I've got a good set of like Commissioner Gordons. You know what I mean? Like.
But you still have Batman, just in a different way.
No. I still have you. Batman. But in terms of like people I'm working directly with, I've definitely got a Robin. Natalie is a Robin. She's a solid Robin.
I have a Robin.
Yeah.
I have a Robin. She's like teetering on the Batman line.
Ooh.
She's teetering. She's not quite there.
Yeah.
She's a rock solid Robin though.
That's
I
awesome.
will say.
I've got mine's a burgeoning Robin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we need to like mold them into Batman, and then we're good.
I kind of feel a way about that. I don't know. I feel like Batman has, Batmans are unique. Batmans are not like, you can't forge a Batman. Batmans are born.
I mean, that's true.
It's like,
That's
and that we coexisted. I mean, that's why you had to go, honestly. I mean, I told Elise, I said, there can be only one. And she said, I agree, Batman. She couldn't make eye contact. And then
who is Elise?
Oh, Two-Face.
I mean, yeah. No, it's...
Whoever the suckiest, like, no, not even, she not even one of the supervillains, because they're too cool. She'd be someone just utterly crazy. She'd be like the mayor a lot of times, like, who's just completely, wishy-washy and, is just trying to save her own butt, trying to get reelected, rehired.
No, that's awesome. I forget what I was gonna say something, but I lost it. Sorry, if I think of it, I'll text you.
So I set some boundaries today around the gym, and they're actually on an ongoing basis. Noon to 2 is my gym time, probably lunch and gym or food and gym. And I'm talking to a pal of mine who's he's got a good regimen going for himself about getting fit. And, and really sort of, he's very much of the mindset that, like, abs are made in the kitchen kind of thing. And, so he's helping me out with that. But I didn't adhere to it today, but it was on the calendar, right?
Hey, small steps.
Yep.
Slow progress is still progress.
Yep. I've got some things I want to handle today, but I could still get to the gym tonight. Actually, what I should do is get out of here and go to the gym, if it's going to happen, and then come back and kick more ass, feed children.
Is there anything on your list that can wait till tomorrow?
Yeah, everything can wait until after the gym. That's for sure.
So also remember that part of boundaries is having a firm, I'm done for the day.
Yeah. But in this season, as I'm working a JOB and building ORBS, I have to work a little longer. I have to work a little more. I have to chip away at, forming orbs from the dust. So, episodes 3 and 4 are up, by the way. Check them out.
Okay.
5 and 6 are... 5 is a banger. I think you will get a super chuckle out of that one. Actually, I want to watch... I want to listen to that with you. Like, I don't know how to do it. Or if you could record yourself listening to it, I would love that. And... I mean,
if it's within an hour, there's nothing that says we couldn't do that as a session.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in. Yeah. So, and I would love that too, because we'd get off of this, but go on to Zoom and just like do a reaction video.
See, I feel like selfishly, there's a huge part of me that wishes I could be like on your podcast, but at the same time, I'm like, that's not ethical.
I'm totally thinking that too. I was thinking that earlier. I didn't mention it because we were talking about other stuff, but I was like, I want to get Caitlin on. But
yeah, I feel like if it was okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's no secret that there's a dual relationship.
I mean,
and it's also not like I told you when we first connected about this.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't change anything for me, but it's also like there is a degree at which things change.
Yeah.
My thought process is, first of all, I don't have this dynamic with any of my this degree of this dynamic with any of my other clients.
Yeah.
None of my other clients I know from before. I've become very close to them in the work.
Yeah.
And naturally, but like it's a little bit different, right? And
yeah,
so
because the work was first.
Yeah. My whole thing is like within a context of that, I would just want for my own safety.
Yeah.
I would just want there to be like, I'm not your therapist in that setting, and that's not referenced.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because like licensure laws, I would get in a lot of trouble.
Dude, totally, and
I would get in a lot of trouble just for the fact that I see you, like as a like, I could get in trouble for that. But
yeah,
I don't really care because I'm not worried about it, you know. But it's one of those things like if you wanted to outside, sure, let's go.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it.
I do. I mean, I don't have to tell the world that you're my therapist. I just like it would be hard for it to not. I don't know. Whatever. And we have the editing control too. So
we do, but also like I'm very good at getting to things without getting to things, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
I've had couples work with people. I don't do couples, but like I've had clients bring in their partner for a session or two. And
I loved your face when you said I don't do couples.
I am not a blank slate therapist,
no,
as
right.
you know.
Yeah.
And I have a really hard time doing couples because I'm not afraid to be like, you're being an asshole, stop it. And like that's not received well within couples work because I'm not supposed to like pick sides, and so I just don't do it. But if a client of mine wants to bring in their partner, I am the client's therapist and you are here as a guest, so I get to say what I need to say. You know, I digress. But in those settings, I can very much so like lead into something without it being like, oh, we talked about this.
I see.
So yeah.
Wow, I would love to have you on the cast. Absolutely. Absolutely. What are you doing Friday morning?
What the topic is, and I'll find a way to be there.
It would be mental health. It would be, you know, how therapy can help any and all of us.
So kind of like a redo of what we tried to do a year ago.
Yeah, but with way more structure.
Well, duh. That was after how long of us not seeing each other?
Oh my God, that can't happen. It can't. I mean, Jesus. And I don't. I just, yeah. Ugh. That's a recurring theme that I want to explore at some point with you. Is not. I guess. Like, I'll have really deep connections with people, and they go away.
The people or the connections?
The connection will fade. We'll both not, follow up or whatever. I just like, I don't know. And when I reconnect with them, it's a lot like us, right? It's like nothing ever changed. We just really, just kind of missed each other. But like, I don't make the choice. I don't have a history of making the choice to call and reconnect until after like just a stupid amount of time, or like a reason will have to come up. Hey, I thought of this. Like the guy who was Rocky in the Rocky Horror Show that I performed. It's the 50th anniversary. And so there's RKO Con this year. I think it's in Providence. And I just sent him a message, right? It's been 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 3 years since, I spoke to him. Like he's just a really good guy, a really talented performer. And I was just in the midst of a horrific, like I had my shit going on. So it was tough to feel. Yeah, I just do that. Like I'll just like fade out of people's lives, and like I don't know. I think it's worth exploring, right? Like not having a lot of deep friendships.
Well, I think it's that you go very deep very quickly, and then it's not sustained.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Because you and I had a very deep friendship. Like we connected more than just work.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason people made stupid remarks and rumors about us. But I know, like, I don't obviously bring that up as like a sore spot, but as like an example, right?
Yeah, right.
Because you and I obviously know that was never a thing, but it's like the reason those things exist is because of how close we got. It's not that the relationship wasn't deep. It's that it was not sustained, and it was by the normal sense of the word, it was too much too fast.
Right.
And while you and I don't believe that, I could see where that could be challenging with people who, like, that was a very different setting. Like it was necessary that we were very close.
Yeah.
But I could see where in some settings that's not the case, and that can be very challenging. And so yeah, absolutely we can explore that. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'll add
something across my mind. Right. Good, dude.
This was a good conversation. Maybe not super clinical, but still a great conversation.
Right on. Agreed.
I'll see you Wednesday.
Yeah, you will. I'll do that paperwork too. Talk to you soon. I owe you some paperwork, evidently. I keep getting hate mail.
Oh, you owe me scored measures. It's fine.
Oh.
Do them, but I'm not like stressed about it. It's more so I can update your treatment plan.
I got you. I'll get them done.
I'm not super worried about it. If I was mad about it, I'd be yelling at you.
I can't wait.
I'll see you Wednesday, Batman.
Bye, Batman.
Oh.
Oh.